like what's really killing my views here.
Andrew
Tate.
Our Lord?
My
might be your Lord.
You may have some backlash and get arrested and get put on house arrest, but at the end of the day, you still hit your goal. Today's episode is basically pinpointing the major things that we've seen on YouTube and among different channels, among our clients, among everything that we've seen, the biggest common occurrences that are stopping people from growing. Welcome back to the Automate Channels podcast. We are here for another week.
Why did that sound so corporate? That was the most corporate. He's like, welcome back to the Automate Channels podcast.
Great intro.
No, I mean, let's just get right into kind of like what's going on in the world of media, YouTube. Like, what have you noticed? What's the update?
There is a lot of new stuff, I feel like, this week. First of all, I feel like there's something we need to hit before that, which is Jimmy's new video. What did you think about Jimmy's new video?
Can you say because by the time this episode airs, there'll be like 5 videos probably after.
Right.
So like, which video?
It was the age 100 or age 1 to 100 fight each other.
Yeah.
What was your thoughts on that?
It was definitely one of his better ones. I think that what made it kind of suck, in my opinion, was that you could tell they were very hungry to get rid of people. You notice how they did 5 to 10 people that they eliminated just out of voting.
Yeah.
And I felt that was kind of lazy on the writing side. I feel like that could have been 3 people, 5 people in my opinion, or 10 people was just too much. And also I think it causes the negativity side of the video. Okay. You know, Jimmy is not really known for the negative side. And that really pushed, I feel like, the negative side out of everybody in the group. So you had weird where you saw humans go after each. It's $500,000. It's not like 5,000, 1,000. Right. It's $500,000. It's life-changing money that could help people pay off their house, retire, whatever. And I think that you can't play the game of, hey, vote on who you hate the most. That's only going to play more into just negativity in general. I think from a social side, that was a bad move. Okay. From an actual content style and video idea, I think it was a really good move.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing that I like, or like at least the main point that I pulled from it was Jimmy more and more every single day feels like he's trying to build the Nickelodeon of YouTube. Like, did you even see the way that he was like introducing hooks and stuff? Like he'd be standing on a big stage. Like it feels like every single video almost feels like the Kids' Choice Awards in a sense. Even with his ads and stuff. We were talking about this the other day with how with Feastables, they're giving away a Lamborghini, right? Like
dude, I had a Feastable. I didn't win.
Damn.
I know, right? Yeah, I went to 7-Eleven and I got myself a nice Feastable chocolate bar.
These nuts.
I didn't get the D's Nuts one. Okay. I don't know why that was approved by his team. It's actually it's funny, but to be honest, most of Mr. Beast, it's like young kids, right? Yeah. I don't know if you want to be talking about D's Nuts.
D's Nuts joke. It's a kid's joke.
It's like a chocolate bar called D's Nuts for people who don't have context like that Jimmy is selling, like Mr. Beast. So, but no, I mean, the chocolate bar, I don't know. Like, have you tried it? It's kind of like, I think I was on the call with you when I tried it. I tried the chocolate bar late at night and I was like, it's just a basic
It feels healthy to me. It feels too healthy. Like when I eat candy, I want like Hershey's feels like straight sugar.
Wait, is it supposed to be a healthy bar?
It's healthier than normal chocolate. Okay. I know that.
If that's true, then it's not a too bad move, but to me it felt very basic of a chocolate bar.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what kind of like ways can you go with?
You know what's funny? Jimmy, I remember back in 2019, Jimmy and a circle of his friends and all of us were hanging out at VidSummit, and then he mentioned that he was trying to work on a beef jerky.
Ooh.
So like that was like something that he was thinking about. I forgot what he was gonna call that. I think it was but I don't know. But it was just gonna be like a beef jerky, and I guess his team decided not to go through with that, which actually I don't think is a bad move because I don't know if many people would want to have bad breath. Like when you have jerky, you know how bad of your breath is after. I don't think that's an easy sale.
That's very, very accurate. I feel like almost chocolate fits more with him as well because he's just like the Willy Wonka of YouTube.
Oh my
like
gosh.
It's too accurate. But what I was getting at with the whole Feastables thing, right, and like how it's starting to feel like he's building a Nickelodeon, which to me and maybe to you as well, it feels pretty obvious, right? Yep. Like this is what he's trying to do in a sense, and the part that's like stuck out to me, right, is like if that's the wave everybody's going, because we think about it like Eric, right, Eric, the creator, all his video ideas are literally game shows turned into video long form ideas, right? So it's like Fear Factor, but it's just like extreme live or die IRL, right? And it feels like within each almost like subsector of YouTube, whether it's the storytelling, whether it's the ideation, whether it's literally the setup, it feels like we're getting closer and closer to like mainstream film each and every video that I see. And it's like, it's a weird thing that I've been trying to incorporate with a lot of my channels as well, as like literally from a very, very broad standpoint, how can we pull things that have already performed in major media and correlate it to YouTube, right?
I think there's a reason, though. People are going to forget. There's a reason why YouTube worked so well in the past versus mainstream media.
Yeah.
Mainstream media quality has always been existent. The quality that Jimmy is currently doing has always existed in mainstream Nickelodeon, Disney cartoons, whatever, right? So the problem is that people is starting to forget, YouTube is starting to forget its roots. And its roots was the more original, like one-on-one, like more organic. Feels like someone made it in their mom's basement kind of videos, right? Now, not to say you should have really bad videos, but to say there's a balance where you go too much into the high quality production realm. And I see this with a lot of Faceless channels too, where I just think some niches and some topics, you shouldn't have a super professional video that looks like a documentary. Like if you look at Jake Tran, which is more of a Faceless channel, you can see that type of documentary style. It's a good documentary style of editing, but I think if everybody does that, it loses its feeling.
Becomes oversaturated, for sure.
It gets oversaturated, and also just everyone's going to start wanting something that's more feeling like one-on-one and raw. Feeling raw. We've noticed that with our editing recently, by the way. So then this is like a side thing for people in the Faceless realm. We used to edit some of our videos in a channel that was super, like a niche that was about celebrities, and we were doing super high quality documentary style editing. So it felt like a real Netflix series, and we paid a lot of money for it. But the videos were not performing that great. So what we did is we simply toned down the quality. Instead of the crazy flashy transitions or text on screen, we just did very simple edits and everything, and it performed higher.
Interesting.
And I think there's an element to it because some niches, they want to see that raw, that real side. They don't want to see the crazy Netflix style editing.
Right, especially with these almost kind of like what you were saying, like news-esque channels. It's like the whole point of them is it's always kind of like negative sided, right? So it'll be like Selena Gomez without makeup, right? That's the reason they're clicking on it, is they want that organic feeling that they can't get from celebrities. So that's the side they want to see, right? So it's almost the same thing with YouTube. But yeah, I mean, it's just interesting. Like as the production goes up in each of these videos, I feel like you can feel like the emotional disconnect leaving as well. Like even with Jimmy's videos, like I think about it even like a year ago, 2 years ago, like when he was doing like those crazy hide and seeks, when it was like, that's almost kind of what I pinned down as like his transition point. Like it was like you were doing very high production, at least for the standard of YouTube, for sure, very high production, right? But you still had those like one-on-one moments with Jimmy, one-on-one moments with different people, not just like, whereas now he uses outside characters, for example, like people to be in the video, like literally random people to drive that emotion. Whereas it used to be him and like Carl and Nolan and these other people. And it just, to me, I agree with you in the sense of like, I'm just like feeling over consumed with like this such high production and such high effort in all these videos, to where I resort to like a Ryan Trahan to like go watch those videos and almost like relax.
I think Ryan Trahan's that good middle ground where it's still production quality.
There's effort.
But there's effort, but it feels like it's real.
Yeah.
It feels like a vlog, but a high quality vlog.
And to me, it's so much easier to watch those, right? Like I'm watching a Jimmy video and I feel like I have to like force myself to lock in. Ryan?
I think that's going to be a pivotal moment in the next year. We're going to see Jimmy and his team realize that this is going to get too much. Like already people are saying it's too much. Like the editing is just too much. Did you see the, I don't know if we watched it together, but the blind, was it blind?
Watched it. Yeah.
There was a video where Jimmy did, and I recommend people watch it. Maybe our editor can play a 10-second clip of it so people can see how crazy and fast it was.
In this video, we're curing 1,000 people's blindness. It's gonna be crazy. Most of us see the world like this. But here's the thing, 200 million people see the world like this. But I just made it one less.
Oh. Wow.
But he did like a 6-minute video, which is not normal for Jimmy. Mr. Beast usually does, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes long.
10 plus at least.
And the editing was so fast in a 6-minute video of saying that pretty much the title was like, I cured 100 or 1,000 people, like blindness, people. Yeah, I cured 1,000 blind people or something like that. Anyways, the video was just way too fast. And I don't know what the criticism was. I don't think I really paid too much attention. But when it first launched, people were kind of upset because it was too fast and there wasn't really a storyline. There was no emotion side of it. There was someone like, oh, crying, and then they split to the next person. You didn't let that emotion show long enough.
I don't know. It's so weird to me because like Jimmy, I don't know how much you keep up with his Twitter, but like all of his recent videos, past 3 to 4 videos, he's constantly talking about like, I'm so excited for this video to come out. The storytelling's amazing. And to me, it's almost like what factor, and specifically like the 100 blindness video, right? It felt to me like his almost like goal of storytelling with that rather than like setting it up, right? Like this is their family. This is the hardships they've had to go through from being blind, from XYZ,
Right.
and then building up to that grand moment.
Exactly.
Rather than that, it almost feels like a compilation based, and like the way he was trying to drive emotion was by showing emotion, right? So it started off the video and it's like somebody gets their blindness cured and they start crying, right? It's like there's emotion there, so I guess the scene is emotional, but I'm not feeling the emotion because I don't understand how.
There was no storytelling.
Yeah, it was like you
That
couldn't
video
build
had
up.
zero storytelling. The ages 1 to 100 was storytelling, but that Cureness one had no storytelling in it.
Yeah.
But anyways, we'll have to see where Jimmy and Mr. Beast goes with it, and also other creators who are trying to follow in his lead.
Yeah.
But the quality level, I think there's got to be a middle ground, and I think people are forgetting that you should stay in the middle. Just because Mr. Beast and these guys are doing the top level quality doesn't mean you should follow in their footsteps, because they've already paved their way. People know him for that.
Right.
You got to pave your own way, because if everyone's trying to compete with Jimmy, like Mr. Beast, you'll always be behind his lead. You know.
I mean, it's the base question of everybody always asks, like, who's the next Jimmy, right? And it's like
not
it's not going to be a replica of Jimmy.
It's not going to be anyone like him.
You know what I mean?
All right, so let's get it right into the episode. Let's kind of go over what is today's topic about.
For sure. So I think the biggest thing that I've been seeing on YouTube in general, and just like the main questions that everybody wants to see from us, is obviously the easiest way to put it is like how to grow on YouTube, right? But I think there's some obviously nuances within that, right? So today's episode is basically pinpointing the major things that we've seen on YouTube and among different channels, among our clients, among everything that we've seen, the biggest common occurrences that are stopping people from growing.
That was a long way to get to that
that was-
title. That title was literally just "We are not seeing." Like on the slideshow,
4 words.
on the slideshow, I'm seeing why you are not seeing growth, and instead you're like you had like a paragraph to explain it.
I was trying to, correlate it. You know what I'm doing?
We almost need a word for word script for you.
Oh.
All right, cool. So let's get into some of it. Let's break down some of these tips and go over how you. I literally cannot read that now that I try to read it. Why? How did you spell that? Why you are not seeing growth?
It's pretty simple. What do you mean? It's straight to the point. Why they are not seeing growth.
I don't know. My eye just like can't read that.
I've noticed on all of these slideshows, I try to make it so obvious and big for you. Like you're.
I'm blind.
Yeah, your vision sucks.
I have dyslexia. What can I say? That's my excuse.
That'll do it.
All right, let's get into this. All right, so number one of why you're not seeing growth. Let's go into some titles and ideas. That's kind of what people mess up on. Is their video idea in itself sucks.
Gotta get the people in the door.
So give us some tips. How do we make our titles better? How do we make our video ideas better?
Yeah, for sure. So the main kind of like rule of thumb that I always like to use when just like coming up with any idea or title in general, or just like the whole idea of getting viewers in the door, right? Is this relevant? Is this trending, right? Do people care about this? And I think that's a big thing that a lot of people overlook is like, for example, a good one I can give is with reaction-based channels, since I obviously work on a few of them. Just Reacts in specific, you know that Mr. Beast TikTok that came out that's like, 1, 2, buckle my shoe. Have you seen that trend?
No one has.
Bro, everybody knows what I'm talking
Julian,
about. It's
that was
just
the most
you.
embarrassing thing you've ever done. That was the most embarrassing
thing. It has like
thing.
100 million views on
I'm
TikTok.
going to hold this clip as blackmail against you.
Anyways, so what we were talking about on Just Reacts is we wanted to use that. It was like literally within the past 2 months, this is Mr. Beast's most viewed TikTok, right? And I'm like, we were posting like a try not to laugh basically for Reacts. And I'm like, what's the thumbnail clip? Usually we use like a specific clip from the video, right? And I was like, why aren't we using this one? Obviously the 1, 2, buckle my shoe, because it's so popular, especially this month. And then we came to like a pivotal moment is like, okay, we're not gonna be able to get this out for another 2 weeks. Will it still be trending to the point it is now? Right. And I think that's a big question that a lot of people run into is like when they begin writing their video, the topic or the title or just any kind of like circumference of the packaging.
How do you get it to be out during the trend is still alive? But first, we got to really figure this out, man, because I'm just like, I'm sorry, I'm too frozen on the fact that you butchered that trend and it sounds like nothing.
It's not, I didn't butcher it.
Melina, can you search up that trend? Let's watch it right now, because let's show us one TikTok of that trend.
Just
is it Jimmy's?
Look up Mr. Beast 1, 2, buckle my shoe on YouTube. I guarantee
on YouTube or TikTok?
Doesn't matter. It's
just go to YouTube then, see if they have it on YouTube, because I have to see this because
1, 2, buckle my shoe, Mr. Beast. Just look that up.
Dude.
Just because you guys are boomers and don't see these trends
I'm a boomer.
doesn't mean...
I'm a boomer. She's on TikTok all the time.
Yeah.
Yo, come over here, come over here.
No,
I'm with Mr. Beast, and we got the brand new 1, 2, buckle my shoe, 3, 4, buckle some more, 5, 6, Mr. Beast kicks.
Mr. Beast kicks.
Fire.
Let's go.
That was fire.
My God.
You see what I'm saying? It's a banger, right?
No.
You're not rocking with it.
How old is Mr. Bean?
How old is Jimmy? 30? You don't like it?
What was that, bro?
You don't.
What is happening to our generation that is a trend?
You didn't think that was funny?
No.
That was the dumbest thing I've probably heard or probably seen.
I liked it.
I really think that, I'm not even joking, like I literally think that might be the lowest level of TikTok I've seen in my life.
How? That's a
A
banger.
dude showing off
Wait.
his stupid gameplay of his Minecraft sport
think the
probably
funniest-
would have been a better TikTok than that.
I think the funniest part is how much the kid looks like Matthew Beem.
Yes, yes.
It literally has
Yes,
me
the,
crying.
yes, the editor has to like
Yes.
look at the comparison, but yes,
Yeah, bring up that side by
no,
side.
100%. Like that, he looks exactly like it, but I don't know, man. That needs to be a story in itself of like how the generation, like how many views did that like TikTok get?
Oh, I probably passed 100 million now, just on Jimmy's TikTok.
Bro,
Yeah.
This is why, like, I just don't see myself able to do YouTube 10 years from now, because where will like the content be by then? Like, I won't even be able to like consult or help anyone in this space.
It's all gonna be like that.
Because it's gonna be like that, like that poor quality of stuff. Like, I'm gonna have to be sticking with 50-year-old of consulting. I can't stick with like 20-year-olds
Yeah,
in this space.
can't keep
because
staying younger.
Dude, I'm gonna be a boomer already, dude.
That's funny.
I
I can't
don't
believe you
know
haven't
what-
seen that. It's been everywhere.
I have not seen that. Did you see it, Melina? Because you're always on TikTok. Dude, Melina's always on TikTok. I'm surprised she hasn't
I'm
seen
on
it.
more, so
What's in your search history?
you don't want to know. But
No.
basically, so I think this is an important point too, though, because like Jimmy, that's just one iteration. So to give you a little backstory on that kid, Matthew Beem, or whatever the hell his name is, Bullhead, posted a TikTok like 2 weeks earlier, and it's just him doing it. Like it's him just staying, like pointing at his own shoes, like 1, 2, buckle my shoe, whatever. And then Jimmy hits him up after it blows up and does a collab with him, obviously because it's trending, right? But this has been a tactic from Jimmy on TikTok like the past 3 months that I think is so genius. So like, have you seen like the take a dollar or double it on TikTok? Like you guys have to have seen that.
I am.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, she's having. I'm
so
not on TikTok. Just
people
heads
will-
up.
yeah.
I don't download TikTok.
People will go up to people. So for example, if I had $1, I would go up to you and I'd be like, would you like to take this dollar or pass it on and double it? Right? So either you can have $1 or the next person gets $2, right? It was like a big, massive trend on TikTok, just like short form in general. So the guy who started doing this blew up, obviously. Like it was this whole thing on TikTok. So Jimmy, again, a week later, flies out to wherever he is or flies this kid out and does it in real life with this kid. So I think it's almost not even amongst titles, amongst videos in general, but it's just like, how can you bring trends into each
Right.
aspect of your kind of like media company is how I like to think about it.
Yeah, you just got to figure out where the eyeballs are.
Because that's how you relate.
TikTok though is a little bit different
Yeah.
than YouTube, so that is kind of hard to compare the
Right.
two. It's like comparing an apple and an orange. But for TikTok algorithm, I think they recommend based on sounds. So a sound similar like that noise, like
Right.
was it 1, 2, whatever,
1, 2, buckle my
whatever
shoe.
that thing is. That sound, the TikTok algorithm will look for more TikToks that's similar to that sound. So if you watch all the way through there and engage with that TikTok and you
Mm-hmm. Right.
scroll to the next one, you'll get another one and
sure.
another one, another one. So what Jimmy did there is like, okay, well, let's take this guy and let's just hop into this. You don't even have to have a title on TikTok. You
Right.
just simply got to have a similar sound.
And the
to
relevance
trend.
is there of the kid.
Yeah, so, but applied to YouTube.
To go full circle with this,
Yes.
the point I was trying to make
Yeah.
basically, right, is so Jessa Reacts, we were dropping a try not to laugh, right? And I was like, why aren't we using this, right? And it was like, we can't get the video out for another 2 weeks. We're not hitting the trend at the point we need to be hitting it at,
Yeah.
right? So it's either you have to hit a trend before the peak, or what I like to say is like 2 months after the peak when it resurfaces and that recognizability is there, but people almost forgot about it, right? And it's like that second wave of the trend. You see that a lot.
Yeah. Timing is always difficult with trends.
Yeah.
That's why we always explain to people though, like typically with a trend, we try not, we pick one or two sides. If we're trying to really get something out, we look for video ideas and trends that we know will last for at least
Evergreen.
2 weeks. No, not evergreen, because that's not a trend. That's an evergreen. But
Eh.
like something that will last like 2 to 4 weeks maybe,
Has a
because
time
we
span.
know that production can sometimes take 2 weeks. So a lot
Okay.
of our team members will, if there's a trend that pops up that we know will be pretty much dead three days from now, no one will care about it 3 days from now, we don't talk about it. We have to make sure that we have enough time and it's still very relevant to get the video out.
Was this you I was talking about with it a couple days ago when we were like, I felt like we were missing a lot of trends, and it was like, what's the way to almost like counter this, like to fix this bottleneck in a sense? And I came to the conclusion of like almost having, it might have been Josh, but it was like almost having a ASAP team in a sense, right? So if you have a trend and it's like you have these 4 people, right? Let's say it's a scriptwriter, editor, researcher, right? You take those 3 people right when this trend comes out that aren't currently working on anything else in the production line, whatever, and you get them into works on the trend that just came out. So you only have like a 3 to 4 day turnaround.
Right.
It's a unique way to go about it, but I think it gets the job done. But yeah, just to continue moving for titles and ideas. This one obviously fits a lot more with titles, but keywords. This is a big one that we were speaking about even when launching with this this podcast channel, right?
Yeah, so I mean, with the keyword side of things for the podcast channel, at least, we saw a trend where a lot of people were talking about AI and YouTube automation, which is obviously my bread and butter because I've been in this business for longer than anyone else. And so I realized, all right, like beforehand, when I started YouTube automation, obviously that wasn't even a word because it wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
But then 3-4 years goes by, and now everyone started to talk about the word like YouTube automation. A year before it started to be really relevant, I would make videos saying YouTube automation, get 0 views because no one knew what that word was. Today, you say YouTube automation, your video might get 100K views, right? So what you and I realize is it's the perfect timing for us to finally create a podcast and use keywords like YouTube automation and talk about a topic that I've always been talking about, but has never really had the relevancy
in the trend,
the trend that it now has. And so that goes to another thing, which is for you guys who's creating videos and you're trying to figure out how do you go in there at the right timing and a trend. Sometimes you might get into a trend too soon.
Right.
Is that a bad thing? No, because if you get too soon, yes, short term, you're not going to see views. But that same video may resurface itself when the trend ends up becoming something.
For sure, especially if you can repackage. I think a big thing on this as well, just with keywords in general, is I think it's big for new YouTube channels that are dropping specifically, right? Because I mean, I know you know as well, but like when I'm looking at these channels that are even within first 10, 20, first 100,000 subscribers, majority of their views are coming from YouTube search, right? So it's like, how can I best cater my keywords to relate to my audience, right? So the best way that I'll do this is almost, let's say it's finance, right? So I'll go find my competitors' channels, which we spoke about a ton. Once I get those competitors' channels, like we say, we try to find a pattern in a sense, right? It's like, what keywords have they used in all of their overperforming videos, and how can I correlate that to one of my videos, right? And it's just these keywords that almost like, the best way to put it is, this is how YouTube finds your niche, in a sense, right? Or your target audience, right? So if I'm using the word money, you're going to be going to a finance niche, right? So I think there's a big disconnect between utilizing keywords for bigger creators and utilizing keywords for smaller creators, right? A big thing we talked about when I was working at Preston is clickability, right? Because a lot of our titles, we were making sure we were using high trending keywords in it, and it was like we would be using high trending keywords in videos we weren't seeing a difference in view cases, in a sense, right? That's because his audience is so big and he's already like catered to everybody within this audience that it's less on keywords and it's more on the clickability aspect, right? So rather than using Google Trends to rank these keywords and see what's being more searched, it's how does that keyword look when it's correlated with the title, or how does that keyword work when it's correlated with the thumbnail, right? It's interesting because it's like for smaller channels, it seems like you have to cater to this search metric in a sense. But for these larger scale channels, it's more so about how does the thumbnail and title complement, which is interesting. It's same thing with Jimmy. Like, what keywords does Jimmy really use in his titles? Not a ton.
All right, so now let's talk about the next thing that's stopping your growth on YouTube. You are not being different. Now, I hate when people say this on YouTube, on like how to grow on YouTube videos, because they don't go in detail in the right area. When people like you'll see someone say, be yourself, be different, stuff like that. You got to stand out, be original. That's almost impossible in today's world with YouTube to be original. But if you look at the top creators like Mr. Beast and all these other guys, even Faceless channels, like I say a lot of, you and I say a lot of face channels because they're just easier to remember and easier that everybody knows. But even Faceless channels, like even Jake Tran is pretty much considered a Faceless channel, and there's so many others out there, right? What it is where I think that when it comes down to being different, this is what they do to be able to be different, is what they do is they copy what works, but they add on to it. And a lot of people mess up because they just copy. They don't add anything stable. And when you only copy, guess what you do? You just become a small version of them.
a shittier version.
A person, you become less than them.
Yeah.
And so the secret is, how can you take what's currently working, and you have to do this. You know, I see too many people try to reinvent the wheel, and they say, oh, well, I did this one thing because it's new, and I think everyone should like it. It's like, yeah, but you don't have proof of concept. You don't have the proof that YouTube will actually favor this style of content, or viewers will. So you want to look at what's currently performing in your niche, emulate that, but then ask yourself, is there some way I can make this better? What Mr. Beast and they do, those big YouTubers, is they'll look at other niches and they'll move it over to their niche.
Right.
So something that is currently working in one niche and then also working in theirs, when you combine it, guess what you end up with? Two working formulas combined into one, and now everyone thinks you're original, but you're not. You're simply just copying two different worlds.
For sure, yeah. I think the best example that I can give for this is we were just talking about this yesterday, I think, is this the paranormal automated channel that I'm working on at the moment. Is I saw obviously that a big niche within the automated space was serial killers, right? And we saw the packaging that was working for a lot of these faceless channels, which was almost just like a person sitting in a chair, text next to them, right? And it was like, how can we correlate this to a different niche, to the paranormal niche specifically, right? And a big issue we ran into was like all of the paranormal niche, similar to serial killer, were die-hard fans that if they had already seen what had happened within this video, right? So if it's the Conjuring house, very high topic, high search, been around forever, 99% of viewers within the paranormal niche have already seen this, right? So it's like, I can't package my video around the true story of the Conjuring because everybody's already seen that. That gauges no interest to them. So it's like, what angle, like you said, can I take out of another niche and correlate to this? So what we did was just like, different angle at the video, right? It's like you have the true story of the Conjuring. No, that title doesn't work, but the story behind the Conjuring works. Now, how can I make this work, right? And we pulled from like a serial killer niche and true crime, and we were literally just like all over YouTube. We were diving into like news reporters, true story of all over the place, documentary channels. And one similarity that we noticed was using the actual name of the story to build the like search, basically. So like instead of the Conjuring house, the person who actually made the Conjuring house haunted, its name was like Bathsheba, right? So instead of the true story of the Conjuring house, it's the true story of Bathsheba, right? And how do you pull that all together? All you're doing is finding outliers within these other niches. It could be the same niche. If I would have found a paranormal channel that was doing this and their videos were performing well, I would have snatched it right from them, but they hadn't, right? So this is almost like the first iteration of innovation within the niche. And it's interesting because it's like, how many different angles can you do this in, right? And that's just one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is like, same thing with Airac's like extreme live or die IRL, right? The whole topic of it is Fear Factor. That was already a show that was performing amazingly, right? So he was like, obviously I can't take the title of that, but I can take the content because it already works. But how can I retitle this so nobody knows it's Fear Factor, but the content is literally Fear Factor, so I know it's going to perform well.
You know, sometimes what it is what I've learned in marketing. So, for example, if you're trying to sell a product, it can be the exact same product, but if you just repackage how it's perceived, you can sell more and you can revive a dead product.
Okay.
So normally what it is like, for example, I'm trying to think of like the best example I can give. Yeah. But one idea, for example, if you had a video, right? And there was some type of, like you said, this is pretty much what you're explaining. Yeah. Almost like a trend that has worked, but but let's just say it's the story of it is kind of getting old, and so you're kind of seeing a decline. So how do you revive that? The way you would revive it is find another element of the story that might get more attention. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so you use that, like you're saying, the Bathsheba or whatever.
Bathsheba, yeah.
Bathsheba, I can't even say that. But you take that, all you did is you took, okay, this is a trend. It may not be as relevant anymore, maybe because it's overdone. So how can I find something in this that it's still the same story? So if you watch the video, it's the exact same thing, but the only difference is the packaging, my title, looks different.
For sure.
And so you're able to provide another way to explain something that already exists.
Yeah, and I think it works among everything, right? Because the best way to think about it is taking a story or taking a movie or taking quite literally anything ever created, and you look at it and you think, why did this work, right? And in this example of the Conjuring house, why did it work? It's because of the story, right? So it's like, how do I retell this story, but just from a different angle, right? And I think that's a big thing is like, what if, like, for example, I mean, even our podcast, right? It's like, if a video doesn't perform well, most likely it's usually the title on the video or the thumbnail rather than the content inside. So it's like, we know the content inside works, but how can we repackage the thumbnail? How can we repackage the title? That's just a little different of an iteration that will gauge more interest to our viewers.
Yeah. All right, so the next thing we're gonna be going over is time allocation. A lot of people mess up with time allocation. What is time allocation? Well, people always hear other YouTube gurus out there saying, you gotta work hard, try to put your hours in, 8 hours, whatever, grind, be obsessed about it, whatever. Okay, cool. And then I have clients who listen to that and they're like, okay, cool. Let me put a lot of time into the editing. Let me put a lot of time to the script. Let me put a lot of time to the thumbnail. And they try to scatter their brain all over the place. The secret, in my opinion, is figuring out what needs the most attention and then lowering the attention in other areas that don't mean as much. They all of these pieces mean things, but you got to prioritize certain things out of the
more
list.
than others. Yeah.
I talked to a client recently where his channel did well originally, but then it died out.
Okay.
And so he was trying to figure out how to revive it. And all we had to do was sit down and figure out how to reallocate his time. Because I noticed that he was putting too much time into the editing. He wasn't putting enough time into the video idea and the thumbnail.
Okay.
And so even if you have the best video editing, but your thumbnail and title is lacking the energy and time.
Right.
For example, he was putting 20% of his energy and time into the thumbnail and title,
Okay.
but then he was putting like 80% into the actual video. Well, I'm sorry, it doesn't matter if you have an amazing video. If you don't know how to make a good title and thumbnail to grab people in, you will not get that video to be discovered and performed,
it's
right?
impossible.
And so all we had to do was be like, all right, let's look at your time. Let's put 50% into the thumbnail and title minimum, maybe more, but at least 50%. So you put a lot of time to video ideas. So he would come up with like 100 ideas and really nail down a few, right? And we went as far as that. And then we try to figure out a great thumbnail concept that would complement that title.
For sure.
By him doing that, he ended up all of a sudden his channel that was only making, I don't know, I think it was only making $1,000 a month, skyrocketed to over $5,000 a month in just 1 month of doing this. Just time allocation.
Yeah, that's
so
crazy.
He was putting the same amount of time on both sides, same amount of time of energy. I think it was like 3 hours a day.
And you just split that
But
time.
all he did was he just reallocated the time in a better use. And that's where I think a lot of people will go wrong with YouTube.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think we talk about this a lot as well, just from a business standpoint, because I think a lot of our viewers as well, this might help them kind of like to realize the point we're trying to make, because they're business people themselves, is like, when I'm running into issues with my business, right, what do? I set out my business, right? Let's say it's the production flow. Let's say it's anything, right? And within that, I recognize the bottlenecks. So just like you're saying, whether it's the thumbnail or title, your CTR is low, if it's your average view duration is low, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you recognize these bottlenecks, and then from those bottlenecks, you have to decide which one is almost like the biggest bottleneck. Like, what's really killing my views here? And then from there, that's how you allocate your time. From then on, this is more important than whatever this used to be that is not actually a bottleneck. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think this is not even just amongst YouTube. This is just amongst life in general, right? If you're running into failures, you have to analyze what you're doing wrong and cater towards that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the biggest thing for me, man, is just like a lot of people don't prioritize. In my opinion, the video idea is so important, the thumbnail.
Yeah.
And people just don't prioritize it. I think this is one thing that we can add to the list, and a bonus, a little bonus.
Just a little bonus.
People are scared to push the line with their thumbnail and title.
What do you mean?
Have you seen the clients that we work with?
Yeah.
Man?
But what do you mean by push?
Okay,
Do you mean
so-
like clickbait?
I hate it because clickbait has some bad terminology on it, but to be honest, clickbait is the best way to explain it because everyone knows what that means. You know what I mean? But let's be honest. When all of us YouTubers get in circles, the ones who are established, who are good with YouTube, we are actually looking to clickbait. Does that make sense? We're actively trying to figure out how to make it as clickbaity as possible. People, though, who are strangers to YouTube, they hear the word clickbaity and they think that means misleading.
Negative.
They don't, not even negative, but misleading.
Okay.
So they when someone says the word clickbait to a stranger who doesn't know YouTube, they say misleading. That's what they think it is. So like those two words combined.
Right.
When you say it to a YouTuber, they say, oh, you're trying to make it better than everyone else, so they have to click.
Right.
Two different ways of looking at it. And so what we always try to do, like what we always deal with clients is like clients will be like, hey, I don't want to push the line a little bit because I'm just, I'm scared that it's a little too far. And I'm like, well, guess what? Your competitor will. And if your competitor is pushing the line and they have the choice, which they will, between clicking on your video or your competitor's video, they're going to click on your competitor video every single time, which means you got to figure out how to step up the line. And the way you do that is you go and push the line a little bit, make it a little bit more, I would use the word almost aggressive, a little bit more of an aggressive title, a little bit more of an aggressive thumbnail, right? Sometimes you can push on the negative side. That's usually what it comes out to be. If you are a Mr. Beast, he's pushing more on the positive side, but just how life is and humans are, positive
attracted to
positive
negative.
is so much harder to push on.
Yeah.
Unless you have hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes it's hard to push on the positive, right?
For sure.
So you have an easier chance of pushing hard on the negative, right? But my point is, a lot of people are too scared to push the line, and that's why they don't grow.
Yeah, I agree. It's like the only like perfect analogy that I can put for it, and you maybe like shut the hell up, but like how I think of it is, you know, our go.
Shut the hell up.
Our God, top.
Just don't even start, Julian. Shut the hell up right now.
All right. But no, but listen, tell me I'm not correct here, right? So you think of our Lord Top G, right? Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate.
Our Lord.
My
might be your
It
Lord.
is,
It's not
it is.
mine, but
It is for sure. So my fatherly figure, Andrew Tate, right? So when he came out,
your fatherly figure. You want to call your
I look
daddy
up
now?
to him, yeah.
You want to call your
I
daddy?
would.
Let me call him right now.
But no, okay, right. So we think about it. So like Andrew Tate, like there was so many, like the best word for it is like, is it red pill or blue pill? Red pill, right?
Red pill.
Red pill.
Blue pill is the stuff that I take.
Oh, okay.
I'm for the government. No, just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, but okay, so it was a bunch of like these red pill like people coming out on TikTok,
Yeah.
like within even before Andrew Tate was like popular, right? It was almost like this was starting to gain traction. But none of them took off, right? You think of like Amon Gotzi, you think of all these other people that are just like catering to this bullshit that everybody's trying to feed, right? Not saying Top G isn't correct.
Wait, I thought he was your daddy. You're calling him bullshit now?
My fault. He's 100% correct.
Yeah,
But
what's your word to your daddy?
anyways, the first person to pop off within it was Andrew. And why was that? Because he was saying the most out-of-pocket shit and pushing the line.
And now it's no longer out of pocket, so
Exactly.
no one else can grow on it.
Impossible, right? And that's the closest kind of like analogy that I can give to it is like, if you're different than everybody else, if you're more extreme than everybody else, if you're sticking out of the pile more than everybody else, it's gonna work 10 times out of 10. You may have some backlash and get arrested and get put on house arrest, but at the end of the day, you still hit your goal, right? And I think that's the biggest point to take from it.
Did you just say? Okay, that entire thing, I was with you. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And just like, but like, look, if you end up with house arrest, at least you got your goal done. House arrest, done.
it's
We're
fact.
famous, and then house arrest. That's how you grow on YouTube, guys.
Exactly.
Is that seriously how you're gonna end it off?
Yeah. Cut.
All right. Let's go over some stuff. Right, you got a Q&A. So for you guys who don't know, we usually do a Q&A section. So if you guys have questions that you're running into, go in the comment section, ask the question, and you'll possibly be featured in future episodes. And we'll go ahead and help answer the situation you're running into.
For sure.
So let's see what is a question we got.
Biggest question I've been seeing commented on all of our videos posted so far is how consistent should you be posting on YouTube to expect success? And this is kind of like a weird nuanced one that I'd like to hear your opinion.
So first off, I think we should have it where we put up the name of whoever commented. Because we gotta give that person a nice shout out.
Okay.
Because the slideshow, I'm looking at text.
We'll
and
throw
I
them
don't
on
see,
there. We'll
I
throw them
want
on
to see the beautiful faces of the
will.
viewers right now, man. Do you care about their
they
faces?
see it right now. They
I
see
care
it.
about their faces. All right.
I love 'em.
I'm just kidding. All right. I sound like a governor right now. I care about the faces of every American. That's what I sound like right now. Okay. No. So how consistent should you be posting on the channel?
Yep.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is a common question. I think honestly, man, like this is the problem that people run in, that people always debate on. And I think if you're looking at TikTok, it's consistency. If you're looking at YouTube, though, it's a completely different vertical.
Okay.
Because in my opinion, it's really about quality. And I see so many channels now who are only uploading like twice a month, but they have such amazing quality that they're getting the millions of views that they get or that they need to get. And so, and I think it goes back to time allocation. It's because they are working so hard on the video idea. They work hard on the editing, but definitely the video idea. They're trying to find the best idea and packaging. And that takes time sometimes, of brainstorming before you finally be like, oh, this is the best one.
I think the best way that I think about it is, I don't know if, were you like a FaZe fan back in the day, like Call of Duty,
Kind of
FaZe,
like
trick
New York-
shotters?
New York
Yeah.
FaZe,
You remember
yeah.
when every single one of them was posting every day? Like that was like the golden era of YouTube,
The
in my
old
opinion.
YouTube. That's
Yeah.
old
It was
YouTube.
like, I loved it, right? But one thing you'll notice with each of those videos, like, yeah, in the time, it's like so amazing, right? But if you take a look at their videos where they stop posting for a month, 2 months, and I'm not talking about once their content already turned shit, but I'm talking about when their content was actually good, when they would take a month off and post a video, that video was always a banger, right? It was always one of the best videos that you've watched within the past 3 months. And then their daily uploads were almost just like videos that were easy to
Forced.
consume.
It was forced.
Yeah, the best way to put it.
I remember like Jimmy said that when I was hanging out with him, he said that he went to the FaZe crew's house. This is like way back in
In
the
New
day.
York?
No, this was the Clout Gang house.
Okay.
Remember that
I remember.
period?
Yeah.
So he went to their house and he was like, okay, let's look at your, you know how he is.
Yeah.
Let's look at your data.
Yeah.
Like Jimmy loves his data. So he tried to get everyone to open up their channels and he looked into their analytics because he was curious. And none of them knew anything. They didn't know what audience retention was. They didn't know any of the stuff that we're talking about on this podcast. So just a heads up, guys, you could be the next phase. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
But you see what I'm saying? Like, if you for the problem with them is the FaZe crew didn't understand that YouTube changed.
Yeah.
They were so used to growing the first couple of years. I
From
think 20,
consistency,
Yeah,
it feels like.
what was it, 2015, 2016?
Yeah.
They were growing 2015 till maybe 2018 or so is kind of when they fell off. And so they were growing based on consistency. But 2016, 2017, the algorithm shifted. The algorithm went from consistency, and I know this because that's why Mr. Beast created a mastermind with me and a bunch of other YouTubers we had. We created a small mastermind because the algorithm shifted so much away from consistency and how many subscribers you have. And
quality.
And it shifted 100% to not even quality, to clickbait. Because they didn't, YouTube is still trying to figure out their own algorithm.
Right, yeah.
And so if you just clickbaited your thumbnail and title, that alone would blow up. So you didn't even have to have an amazing video. Now you
Because
got
it felt like the metrics were skewed.
Exactly.
Therefore, the best way to put that in, because I literally just watched a clip right before we started filming from, I think his name's Creator Lyson, something like that. But he was doing a interview with somebody from YouTube, and they were like, what he said was try to think, like you always hear the word optimize for the algorithm, right? And it's like everybody always thinks there's like some crazy hacks to the algorithm, something that you can do that's just automatically gonna make your video go viral. And what he said that I thought was like so accurate was like, just replace the word with audience, right? Optimize for your audience. And that already just drives so much more thoughts through your head. If you can understand your audience, because to be honest, the algorithm, all they really look at, obviously they take so many different metrics and different things into consideration when promoting your video or killing your video, I guess, from a different instance. But their whole goal is to serve the audience what they want to see, right? And I think the best way to just consume that is always be thinking about the viewer within every aspect of the video, right? These retention strategies, these thumbnail strategies, etc., all correlates back to one thing, which is satisfy your viewer, right? And I think that's the biggest thing that everybody can take away from just like YouTube in general. And I feel like how we talk about sometimes is like whatever you say, like 3 or 5 years ago, whatever, before YouTube was even on the homepage, right? Like it almost felt like a secret analytic, and it was at the time when it was on the homepage. It feels like that's kind of what viewer satisfaction is starting to become now. Like, is that going to be something that's measurable? Obviously, there's a few metrics right now that we can kind of correlate to viewer satisfaction, but is that literally going to be a new metric on the dashboard that's viewer satisfaction?
Yeah, it kind of already is, but maybe. And I think it's needed.
I do too.
We'll see what happens. I mean, that's usually what happens. Like so when we had that mastermind with Jimmy, one of our friends who was the first one to blow up in the group, he already knew that we kind of knew that click-through rate was a thing before it was in the dashboard.
Why was that?
We didn't know the term. Yeah. But we knew it was we called it clickbait. Right, because that's what we noticed that we had so many tests where the video itself was so bad, we on purposely made it bad. Okay. But we clickbaited so good that it just blew up. And when we figured that out, we're like, all right, the thumbnail and title just matters more.
Yeah, there's some comparison between impressions
and then
views.
A year goes by. I think it took a year, and that's when YouTube finally released a dashboard where you could literally see that metric.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happens with viewer satisfaction.
That's what's going to happen. Because I think they're still testing that method, and that's why they haven't gave it to someone else. But soon you're going to be able to see a rating system of your own video. So you know, for people who don't know, because we should probably clarify, viewer satisfaction is like surveys. So after someone watches your video, you'll get the viewer will get a survey, and they can rate it on like a 5-star and how they liked your video. And if you don't get good ratings, YouTube won't promote you. That's why sometimes people think they got shadow banned, but the reality is you're just not creating great content for your viewers, and they're disappointed, and YouTube doesn't want to keep pushing that. And I think there will be a rating system probably that will come out so people can literally figure out when they messed up on a video. Yeah,
that'd be amazing. I need that. But to wrap up the question, how consistent should I be on my channel?
It's just quality. I do once a week. I would say just start there.
I mean, what if they can't? What would you say? Because I think what a lot of people run into is they hear this number where they set a goal, right, 2 a week, and what if you can put out 2 videos a week at the highest quality? Do you think that's better than putting?
Go for it. Yeah, go for it. But I'm gonna be honest. If you're a beginner,
you can't.
You can probably barely get 1 out a week. So just focus on 1 a week. You'll know when to do more. I think if you do 1 a week and you start seeing some momentum, you'll know when to upgrade it to.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good way to put it.
So let's end it off with one thing for you guys. Listen, because this is really important. we need you guys to leave reviews because a lot of you guys have been listening. You guys have not been sharing the show. You guys have not been telling your best friend's neighbor about the show. We haven't ran any ads or sponsors on this yet. So it's like, you gotta do us a favor. Share the show. We're truly trying to impact people and help people. Let your friends know about it. And then leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and that'll help us out a ton.
Please.